Okay, welcome back to the channel. So today we've had some wardrobes that have been moved. Wardrobe fits has made a right mess. We've got boards that are flapping everywhere. We've got big holes. We've got channels out here straight into the ceiling. So we're going to board it all up, and today I'll show you how to get a finish on it without sanding. Okay, so we've taped it up, we've boarded it, we've got some strength behind it, we've got some timbers behind it. We've got a bit here where we've dabbed it in. As you can see, we've got a gap either side, slight gap either side. So what we're going to do is we're going to get some filler in that first before we put our scrim tape on it, and we're going to cover them holes and make sure them gaps are filled. We've got an Easy Fill 60, it's a 60-minute filling compound, it's a powdered compound. Now you mix this with clean water. Today we're using warm water. Warm water is a bit of a trick. It'll just mean it'll go off a little bit faster for me. It allows me to get a finish on it quicker. We're going to come across and then bring it down. You can see we're getting that hole filled. So again, push it into the corners, make sure you're getting it in, and then rule off what you don't need. Okay, so we've got some gearing now. We know we've covered that hole. We can put our mesh tape on now. Now when you apply your mesh tape, if you'd have put that on before you filled your hole, you'd struggle to get your filler through the mesh tape. So you can see now, it's bedded into the filler. Again, pushing it, bedding it into that filler. There we go, and we'll get a little piece in that top corner now. So we've got our boarding, we've got our mesh tape on, and we've got filler inside it. That should give it some strength. Hey YouTube, what we're going to do now, we're going to cover this, we're going to cover this ceiling, we're going to come across with this filler. We've got to be fast because we put warm water with it. So first, push it into your corner, always make sure you push it in. Now I'm going to come across, make sure I've filled it out. So when you've done your pass to rule off, always give it a second one, because you will get some more gain off it. Now on this coat, we're not looking to get it perfectly flat. This will be the first coat, and it's what we call a tight coat. So I know I need a tight coat of filler on there, and I don't want any lips on these edges. Again, rule off what you don't need. There we go. Well, we'll let that set a little bit while we get the ceiling on. So again, as I go into these corners, you'll see me wiggle my trowel. What I'm doing there is I'm making sure I'm setting my gear into the corner. And taking every care not to pull that tape off. Okay, push it in to make sure you've got them gaps filled. And then off you go. Okay, when we're coming across this now, we don't want to cover everything just yet. We could end up building a big lump. What we need to do, we need to do in stages. First stage is cover the screen tape. Make sure them joints have got a bit of strength and they've got some gear on them. You want it as tight as you can. Your next coat will go further across, then your third final coat covers everything. We'll show you how to get a finish on it without sanding. That's the important part. So again, you can see I'm just trying to get some coverage on. And I'm trying to keep it as tight as I can back to that wall. So we've got a coat on. Now at this stage, I'm not too bothered about getting rid of any of these little lines and making sure it's overfilled. My main concern, like I say, is just to cover this scrim tape and give it a tight coat. I don't want any ridges, I don't want any lumps. This is what's going to save us on the sanding. So we need to leave that now for 15-20 minutes so it starts picking up. Hopefully we can get away with using the same mix and we'll give it a second coat. Okay, so we put our first coat on. It's still a little bit tacky, but it has firmed up a bit. So it's the same mix. What we're going to try now, we're going to get a bit more coverage. We're going to come across, and we've got a ridge here. We've got a massive ridge from the way the ceiling was done. So we need to try and feather that out. We're going to have to bring it right the way across. So we're getting a bit on the trowel. Now I'm going to come into this corner, set it into the corner again, come across, and then rule off what I don't need. Again, set it into the corner, come across, and then rule off what I don't need. As you can see with this next pass, we're coming past our first pass. I'm still keeping that edge as thin as I can. Okay, a bit of a trowel, come past that first pass. And then rule off what I don't need. Again, keeping these edges as thin as we can while we're working. Okay, so we're going to set this into our edge again and then come across. Don't worry if you get your little bits there, I'll show you how to get them out in a minute. So we've brought this ceiling in now, it's had a second coat. We've done it with the same mix as the first, so we know it'll all dry together. We're keeping these edges as thin as we can. We're not worried about any tiny imperfections at this stage. I'll show you in a minute how to get rid of all these imperfections and we'll get it flat without sanding. Okay, so now we know we've got our filler on the fine edge there, so we need to come past that and we're going to come across. And again, I'm taking everything off what I don't need. And I'll come across. Do the same on this side. Again, ruling off everything what we don't need. Okay, you ready for this? Okay. So we put our 2 coats on. I don't know if you can come any closer, Pete. We'll have a look. You can see I can get my fingerprint in it quite easily. So it's not gone firm, but it is starting to firm up. So our trick now is we need a sponge float. We're going to use this medium coarse sponge float. We'll use that one, mate. Use this medium coarse sponge float now. I'm going to show you. This is just going to take out any of the tiny imperfections. You can see I'm not going mad with it. I'm literally nice gentle flattening. Now this might seem counterintuitive. We've just put that on and it looked nice and flat, and now we're going to go over it with this sponge float. So it might seem counterintuitive what I'm doing, but if you bear with me, I'll explain how it works. For these edges as well, make sure you get them nice and damp. This is what saves you sanding. We're going to come in, bring these edges in first, and we're going to pass this middle. And this is just flattening any work that we've put on now. Again, sponge float, come across, flatten it off and keep the edges nice and thin. Okay, so we've sponged this, we've left some tiger lines in it, some stripes. So we've got our trowel now, we'll make sure we've got a bit of a wet blade. And all we're going to do now is come across and pass. You see, barely anything coming off onto the trowel now. And that's allowing us to make sure that works flat. Again, we're going to come across. At this stage, we're not looking to take much off. This is just a little bit of moisture and a tiny bit of filler. Okay, you can see what we've took off is barely anything. Okay, you've got to come up close in a minute, mate. Okay, well, I'll show you now what I mean with this sponge float. So I'm just going to do a bit of a close up for you. So where I've passed with my trowel and I've stopped, you can see we have these little ridges. So if you can see that all the way along there. Now there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can let these first coats dry and then you can sand it back and start applying your next coats. But for us, it's a sponge float, gentle, and all I'm doing to bring it down, it's pulling out any of the marks. Again, I'll bring it all the way down, but so I'm just pulling out them marks, and I'm also ensuring I'm keeping these edges nice and fine. It's them edges is where your sanding is. Again, at this stage, we're just trying to make sure we're flattening everything. Okay, we can see now, we've got it nearly flat. We've got a few little lines in, that's from our sponge float, but we don't mind that because it's still got to be coated again. So this will all get another coat, it's going to get another 2 coats, I'm going to be honest. Because we've got a ceiling that slightly runs out, we're going to have to come right the way across and we'll blend it all in. We do a quick one now on trowels. When I'm applying and I want to keep these edges fine, I need a trowel that's going to do that for me. So I've got 2 trowels here. This is a Nela or Nella, it's a premium, it's a stainless steel trowel. That's what I use when I'm plastering, for putting plaster on. You can see the state of it, covered in plaster, but it's firm. So it does bend. It's well broken in. That's probably 7-year-old that now. So it's well broken in, but it will not give me that fine edge that I'm looking for. So for that, I have a Superflex. Now, Superflex trowels give a lot more bend. This one is quite stiff for the Superflex, which is why I like it, because I get it to apply a lot of pressure and the blades kept itself perfect. I've had that one 3 years and that is razor sharp. So like I say, there's no giving that trowel. There's loads of giving that trowel. So this one will help me. That one will hinder me. So no offence to Neela. Neela, you make beautiful trowels, but that's just too firm for this job. So we've gone over with our easy fill. We've covered the scrim tape. We've brought it out either side. And we've kept these edges nice and fine. What we need to do now is give it a top coat. So today we're using Gyprock Ready Mix Joint Cement. I know it says joint cement, but it can be used as a top coat for finishing. All it is, it's a pre-mix filler and it's a lot finer and a lot easier to work with. Okay, so when we apply this top coat now, we're going to come past our original passes and we're going to come right the way through, and that'll bring it all nice and flush. We're going to start on the edge. We're going to keep that edge as fine as we can. We don't want to do any sanding. So you want some on your trowel, bring it up, then take off what you don't need. What we're trying to achieve, we want that edge to feather down to nothing.
Why do you keep staring in progress?
I'll tell you what it means, don't we? Okay, so we come across now and we give it a top coat. We've come well past our original patches. Now we need to bring these edges in and finish it with a trowel. This is so we don't have to sand it back. At this stage, you have got the option of leaving it, letting it dry, and then just bringing these edges with a bit of sandpaper. But not for us today. So we've got our medium coarse sponge float, and if you can see, I'm staying away from the original patches in my work. I'm only trying to work these edges. So I've got a bit of moisture on it. I don't want it dripping, I don't want it running down the wall. I just want to get them edges live, get a bit of moisture in them. Okay, so now what we want to do, make sure your trowel's clean. You don't want to have anything on them edges. You want it nice and clean, and you've got a little bit of moisture on it. Have the trowel on edge, and we're going to pass. Everything what we take off there is mainly moisture. What we don't want to do at this stage is start taking our filler out. So again, give it a nice tight pass. Same on this side. Again, just a bit of moisture. Okay, we're going to do a tiny close up now. We'll see what the finish is like. Now I'm happy, this has been blended right in. It's fine, there's nothing there, absolutely nothing. So when that's painted, it'll cover. Let the paint dry, second coat, you won't be able to see any of this. Again with the ceilings, we brought them all in, the edges are dead fine, and the same with the walls. So that is how you get a finish without sanding. Okay, thank you very much for watching. If you like what you've seen, like and subscribe, plenty more stuff coming on the channel. Thanks again.